Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. Wanted to talk to you again about the Supreme Court ruling in favor of veterans, and is it going to put more money in your pocket? According to the articles and the information so far, it absolutely will, and up to 1.7 million veterans are going to possibly be affected by this ruling, putting more money into the hands of veterans to utilize for those benefits. Now, let's jump into it. The Supreme Court, if you did not know, ruled in favor 7-2 for veterans. And I'm going to jump into this article here. This came out actually over the weekend. I think maybe it came out on Friday, but I wanted to wait until today, Monday, to share it with you. So, will the Supreme Court's GI Bill ruling mean more money for vets is the question. And I'm going to dive into it here. I got this on Military Times website by Leo Shane III. Always happy to share his information. So please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I truly appreciate it. Every thumbs up and every minute watched helps the channel to expand its reach, right? So let's jump into it here. Tuesday's Supreme, and this was last Tuesday, today's Monday. So last Tuesday's Supreme Court ruling on veterans education benefits could provide an extra year of federal tuition payments to millions of student veterans. But when officials might start doling out payments, if at all, remains unclear. Boy, I can't even say it. Let me just say that last part again. So it's going to affect millions of students, student veterans, and look, either you're a student today or you will be a student if you partake in the newly, revamped authorization to utilize your earned benefit, right? So it says, but when officials might start doling out the payments, if at all, remains unclear. Now, let's jump into it here. We haven't had anything official from the VA yet as far as how long it's going to take them to implement these changes. It's a big ship, and it's got to make a big turn. There's going to be, I would imagine, a rollout, if you will. There'll be segmented portions of veterans, maybe in portions. I don't know. I mean, it's going to be hard. If you're talking about 1.7 million veterans, you're talking about money. You're talking about who's eligible, who's not. So when we hear more from the VA, I will let you know. But let's move on in this. In the 7-2 ruling, justices said that veterans can use both post-9/11 GI Bill benefits and the Montgomery GI Bill benefits to pay for college classes if they meet eligibility for both programs. Now, here's a question. What if you elected to use post-9/11 because you were told you could only use one, but you had both? You utilized it, you moved on with your life, thinking that you never had access to your Montgomery GI Bill. 10 years have passed and that's gone, right? What now, right? So what happens to those folks? They got to go back and redo it. And I can't remember the date that post 9/11 went into effect, but I think it actually says it in this article. So let's move through this. Veterans Affairs officials had required veterans attending school to choose one or forfeit the other. But in the opinion for the majority of the court, Justice Jackson said that if service members serve for long enough, they may be entitled to both. As a result, advocates say significant changes in how veterans' education benefits are paid out could happen in the next few months. That ruling is pretty clear. You can use both, said retired Lieutenant Colonel Elizabeth Kubala, Executive Director of Syracuse University's Veterans Legal Clinic. When there is a significant ruling like this, the federal agencies need to take steps to implement it. So it will be interesting to see what VA does next. In a statement, Veterans Affairs officials said they are still reviewing the decision. Lawyers involved in the case have said that as many as 1.7 million veterans could immediately qualify for more education benefits under the ruling, but acknowledge that it could take a while before anyone sees that money. Quotation here, I fear that the VA will try to take a very narrow view in interpreting this, said Timothy McHugh, an attorney with the law firm Troutman Pepper, which handled the case. And if they do not take that position, And if they do take that position, that will be the next legal fight. So basically what they're saying there is, look, the justices ruled, here you go. Now the VA has to interpret the ruling. Yes, they get both, right? If they serve long enough, this and that, but there might be some wiggle room. And if the VA tries to clamp down and make it a very narrow path, there's going to be another legal fight. Or if they're broad, then there won't be. So the next question here is, how much could student veterans get? Most veterans attending college today with federal financial support use the post-9/11 GI Bill, a generous benefit that was passed in 2008. So there you go, about 16 years ago. That awards eligible veterans 36 months of tuition payouts, housing stipends, and other financial assistance. To be eligible for full post-9/11 benefits, troops need to have served at least 3 years on active duty since 2001. Eligibility to transfer the benefit to a spouse or child required additional years of service. Over the course of a 4-year degree program, the total value of the post-9/11 GI Bill package can exceed $200,000 depending on an individual school and housing situation. As you all know, not every school costs the same, and not every location in which you go to school has the same housing allowance associated with it. Moving on, the Montgomery GI Bill program isn't quite as generous. Eligible veterans can receive up to $2,358 for tuition costs a month, or about $113,000 over the course of a 4-year degree. There is no housing stipend or other financial help. Now, little side note, you could potentially utilize state resources. There could be state benefits and other avenues in which you could get additional assistance. To be eligible for that benefit, veterans need to serve at least 3 years on active duty and pay into the Montgomery GI Bill program at a cost of $100 a month for their first years in the ranks. Yes, I remember that. I remember being told you had to sign up and that it was $100 a month. Moving on. Until now, VA officials have made veterans choose one of the two programs, saying that federal rules prohibit individuals from drawing upon both. But Tuesday's reversal, and what was Tuesday? I can't even remember the date anymore. Tuesday the 9th. No, 16th. Tuesday the 16th. Tuesday the 16th. Reversal of that stance by the Supreme Court centered on Jim Rudsill, a 43-year-old Army veteran who tried to use both and sued when VA officials blocked that move. In his case, Rudsill served 8 years on active duty over several different non-consecutive enlistments. He used part of both benefits, but after hitting 36-month limit, he was told he could not access any additional educational stipends. Federal rules limit any individual from receiving 2 education benefits at the same time or receiving more than 48 months of education benefits. But even with that cap, Rudsill argued that he was entitled to 12 months of payouts because the idea here was, I have 2 separate GI Bills, Montgomery and post 9/11, paid into Montgomery, $100 a month, moved on, enlisted again, got the post 9/11 GI Bill, right? So now I have a 48-month program and I have a 36-month program. However, I cannot exceed 48 months of education benefits by federal law. So combined, I still have 48 months, even though I'm going to utilize my 36 months of post 9/11 GI Bill first. Then I'm going to tap into my Montgomery GI Bill that I paid into, invested in, and I'm going to use 12 more months out of that to hit my cap of 48. So that was the rationale and the reason for continuing to push and push this all the way up to the Supreme Court, and why they ruled in favor of Rudsill. Moving on here, for veterans who have exhausted their post 9/11 GI Bill benefits, the ruling could mean an additional 12 months of Montgomery GI Bill payouts to finish a degree program or start a new one, provided they served at least 6 years on active duty, 3 years each to qualify separately for the 2 programs. So that's a kicker, right? So not every single person is going to qualify, because many people just did 4 years and got out. So then it's going to bring into question, is there a partial, any way of a partial, entitlement? We'll see. So moving on here, for veterans who haven't yet tapped into their either benefit, the ruling could set off a complicated calculus of which stipends to use or save depending on personal and family educational goals. An individual could potentially trigger the Montgomery GI Bill to attend community college classes while saving the post 9/11 GI Bill for an eligible dependent in the future, since the latter benefit can be transferred while Montgomery GI Bill cannot. When will students get answers? McHugh said this firm already has potential clients ready to sue the government if they refuse to allow that benefit flexibility. It's clear from this ruling that everyone who served 6 years or more and was told they couldn't access both benefits now has 12 additional months of benefits coming, he said. The sky is the limit. In previous court filings, VA officials estimated that only a few 100,000 veterans would qualify for both benefits if Redsill won his case, saying that multiple periods of service before and after 2001 made his situation unusual. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how unusual that would be. There's plenty of people who would have served, got out, joined the reserves, got sent overseas maybe a couple times, and may have racked up 3 years of active service during a 6-year reserve enlistment, especially at the beginning of the 2000s. So it's hard to say. But Kubala said Tuesday's Supreme Court ruling does not make that distinction. As such, anyone who served 6 years since 2001 could be eligible for the expanded benefits, a much larger pool. And so it's going to be important for the VA to offer a clear and quick guidance on this issue, she said. VA is a large federal agency and these reviews take time, but given how many vets could potentially use these benefits as early as this fall, they need to act quickly. Veterans Affairs officials have not given a timeline for when they may issue new guidance. In a statement, VA Press Secretary Terrence Hayes said the department is committed to helping veterans get the world-class education they've earned so they can continue successful careers after leaving the military. For now, that leaves outside advocates without any specifics to give to veterans about what education benefits they may have available in the future. In a message to members this week, officials from the Student Veterans of America said they are working with VA leaders, lawyers, and education staff on the potential impact of the situation. Leaders from Veterans Education Success in a statement said the ruling should allow veterans to access both benefits, in direct contrast to how the Department of Veterans Affairs has administered the programs. VA already pays out more than $8 billion in education payments annually. The Supreme Court could potentially add hundreds of millions more to that total, although actual spending will depend on how many veterans opt to continue their college classes. For now, the only veteran clearly covered by the ruling appears to be Redsill, who had hoped to use the extra education benefits to attend Yale Divinity School and become an Army chaplain. Which, by the way, he did not, because he did not get that educational benefit. That's why he fought for it. And instead, he now works at the FBI. Anyway, just thought I'd share. So Redsill said he no longer expects to use that stipend for that, but he hopes other veterans are afforded those kinds of opportunities. This fight was for all military veterans who, like me, were denied that they were promised after their service to our country, he said in a statement. It's been humbling to represent the veterans community, and I am so grateful for my legal team and the court's decision here. And that concludes it. Very interesting, and I'm excited to see what happens next. A lot of folks will be able to absolutely take advantage of this. So thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.